Protests broke out at the front premises of the United Nations headquarters by Iranian protesters seeking for the quick and immediate end of the executioning method practiced by Iranian government. Iranian authorities have executed over 599 people since President Rouhani came into power in 2013, and Hassan Dayani, the president of Assad.com, says this must end.
The man who come here to speak does not represent 80 million people in Iran. So we are here to say we want a regime change in Iran.
While President Rouhani is expected to attend the assembly, the UN instead will be giving priority to the refugee crisis, which since indicated that international aid to support children refugees has dropped from 13% to 20%. Former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown now says government should assist children go to school in refugee camps, or the future discontented children will be a source of exploitation by ISIS, future Arab Springs, and occupation settlement if not given the required priority.
And I keep saying that hope dies not only when a convoy doesn't get through to Aleppo, and hope dies not only when a life raft is sunk at sea as people are crossing the Mediterranean. Hope dies when children cannot plan and prepare for the future and see no prospects in their life ahead, and their parents don't either. And that's why I would say that if you want to slow the wave of movements into Europe, the best and actually a welcome policy on the part of the parents and children of refugees would be to do something to provide education in the region.
Nigeria still has the most children failing to study, and South Sudan and Chad are becoming more divided and troubled by the year. With more desperate children hoping for unanswered prayer to go to school, now at 13 million, the UN will require about $700 million. Governments in developing countries give only 3% to education resource allocation. With Uganda signing and ratifying the Paris Agreement alongside over 100 other nations, David Nambaro, Special Advisor Climate Change, says the effect must be contained well below 2 degrees Celsius, as agreed at the COP21. South Africa has not yet signed.
For an agreement that was adopted just last December, just 9 months ago. Quite often, these agreements take many years to come into force. The fact that this is likely to come into force by the beginning of 2017 reflects that most world leaders are now convinced of the urgency of the challenge and the need for their countries to move quickly so that climate change can be limited to well below 2 degrees Celsius.
Halfway to the necessary reductions of greenhouse gases and begin a meaningful shift of our global economy away from fossil fuels to clean, renewable energy and efficient use of our precious resources. The rest is up to all of us. Yes, each of us must play a part in holding our leaders accountable for their Paris promises and persuading them to finish the job.
To my very special friend, Michael Douglas, thank you for your leadership and your commitment to disarming the world for hatred and violence. And to the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who I call a rock star of world leaders.
The most recent attack in New York and New Jersey has sent a heavy chill among the city dwellers as authorities continue to search for the perpetrators. At least 29 were injured. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, from Nigeria, has appealed to the UN to pay Uganda, since it's not unreasonable for the loss of equipment in Somalia to create the peace.
Try and get the money from the UN, but I think that it's not an altogether unreasonable request by Uganda, because they have really played an important role in ensuring that the elected government can go to Somalia, can be established in Somalia, and can have elections in Somalia, and that has taken tremendous commitment and resources. And I think the role of Uganda cannot and should not be underestimated, and we all owe them a big debt of gratitude. And clearly, if the UN can support financially, I think that that's what should happen.
This is a warm evening in New York, as many of the visitors who have been coming inside the United Nations General Assembly are finding their way home. Many more also come in the morning and the entire day. This is the daily routine, but next week or the week we are coming into will be much more different. The roads will be blocked, security will be tight, and President Barack Obama will be expected here as he will be ending his fourth term. Hillary Clinton and also Donald Trump will be in the same city. You can imagine the kind of confusion that will be taking place in New York with all these high dignitaries taking part, especially in the city of New York. But most importantly is that the journalists have been pointed out as a key area that needs to be protected. The dignity of journalists by the United Nations Correspondents Association, saying that there is a lack of solidarity. There is also a lack of dedication by people, journalists, to be able to forefront and stop the prosecution and killing of many journalists who bring news across the table. Africa has also been pointed out by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Enyema, who made a press conference this week saying that Africa has created an Africa standby force to create the peace that is necessary. He has also said Gabon needs the democracy. Democracy should be held in Gabon, and that is what Nigeria is fighting for. But as we conclude, it looks like Nigeria is in support. The minister, who is also His Excellency, the representative of the United Nations at Nigeria, is in support of Uganda being paid for the military equipment loss they incurred when they were in Somalia trying to create the necessary peace for a country that has been devastated by conflict. Andrew Adinitwe, reporting for Channel 44 News, New York, United Nations General Assembly.